Hello, friends. Super excited to be here with Josh Fingerhut. He's going to talk to us about healing through boxing therapy. Darcy, can you read his bio for us, please?
100%. Josh Fingerhut, what a character. We're going to get into all of it here, but here's a little bit of the bio for backstory. Josh is a licensed marriage and family therapist based out of Los Angeles, who is more commonly known as the boxing and breathwork therapist, as he uses out-of-the-box somatic modalities to help his clients achieve a deeper sense of connection to the mind and body, connecting more than some of them can get through traditional talk therapy. Being a therapist was not on Josh's bingo card as he moved to LA almost 20 years ago to pursue acting. And after some success and a lot of failure, he found himself soothing existential angst with drugs, alcohol, and reckless behavior. He kept assuring himself that he was too smart to be an addict and that everything would magically work out. He was wrong. After almost dying from a flushing bacteria from using, he spent a month in the hospital and then a year in rehab where he was able to do the work on himself. From there, it was grad school, and 8 years later, he has a thriving practice where he works with families, couples, individuals, and most notably, angry young men. Enter boxing. Josh uses relational and experiential psychology as well as movement that brings a unique sense of authenticity and a deep connection with his clients. Josh never intended to be where he is today and is so incredibly grateful for the twists and turns that life brings. And with that, I'll hand it back to you, Michelle.
Thanks, Darcy. The twists and turns of Josh's life, huh?
Hmm.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Are we turning? Are we turning left now?
Yeah. Yep.
Did you ever think you'd be on a podcast?
I've done like two or three podcasts before, but never specifically about boxing. It was more about like the addiction stuff.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Right
Happy to
on.
be here.
Yeah, I appreciate you putting on that hat. Like, I'm super excited that you're offering that to the world. And so I'd love to hear more about that process of creating this for other folks. It sounds like it
Sure.
worked for you and then you kind of developed it into
Yeah, it actually like saved my life. The kind of the quick version of it is after rehab, I was about 18 months sober. And I had this crazy scar on my arm, which you can see. I've had 14 surgeries on my arm. This is where the flesh-eating bacteria was. The fact that I am alive, that I have my arm, that I can clap is amazing. And I'm so grateful for that. And at around 18 months sober, I was living in a place that I didn't really like. I had just gone through a breakup. I had a really crappy job. And it felt like to me I was being paraded around by like treatment people as like, for my scar. Like, and that was all I was. And I had a lot of noise about my scar, a lot of insecurity about it. And I had started boxing. My sponsor in AA, he owns a boxing gym. And we would do step work there. And then he'd be like, why don't you stick around and punch? And I was like, but I have one arm that I can really use. And he's like, it doesn't matter. And so I started getting more familiar with it. And over time, I was able to use both arms. But then this one day, I was in a really bad way, and I was really contemplating self-harm. Um, and I think the plan was I'm gonna go home tonight and I'm gonna hold a knife to my wrist. And if there's an earthquake, then oops, it wasn't me that did it. It was the universe. But I'll set it up in a way that it'll just kind of won't be I didn't actually do it. Um, and then I think my vanity saved my life because I had lost a bunch of weight. I was getting fit, and that was important to me because in my addiction, I was very unhealthy, and it showed. And I was a very heavy meth addict, which is its own unique thing. Um, and I remember I was driving home, and I had the thought, well, but wait, man, if you do die, let's make sure you look really good. Like burn those extra couple calories, so that everyone's really sad at the funeral. Like, oh, he lost all this weight and he was such a good-looking guy by the end. Like that was the important thing to me. And I was like, yeah, it's a great idea. So let me go take one final boxing class. And it's just something magical happened in that. There was something deep within me that I had to get out. And I hit the bags harder than I ever had before. And at the end of it, I just fell to the floor and I started crying. And they were not tears of sadness. They were tears of relief, of joy. And it worked better for me than talk therapy did, than antidepressants had. Like I got off my antidepressants like very soon after because it just dawned on me like, oh, this is what I need. I need to express physically. I need to get it out of my body and get it out of my system. And so boxing just became my own therapy. I mean, I have a therapist. I love talk therapy. But I also need this kind of adjunct for myself. And how, if I don't work out for 3 days in a row, I go crazy. So for me, I needed that space to release, to just be messy, to, you know, let go. And that's when I thought, maybe this will work for other people too.
I love that. Let go. Can you talk more about that? The letting go through movement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Bessel van der Kolk kind of made the whole concept really famous and, that the body holds on to trauma, right? And the way that I explain to people is like we go throughout life. In nature, an animal, if it's almost killed, will like go find a little area, like in a bush, and it will like shake and it'll shiver and it will like just like have a total freak out and then go about so that it doesn't like hold on to that fear all the time. As humans, as at least I did, I think a lot of us do. Um, we have moments, whether they're big T traumas or small T traumas, somebody cuts us off or we don't get picked for the kickball thing or the person ghosts us or whatever. These are little micro moments that we can just absorb, but not all of us shake it out or release it. And for me, the act of boxing is really just letting go of all of these kind of like micro uh, traumas or just moments that don't feel good that I can just absorb and then shove down. And boxing is my way of getting it back out, of emptying my cup and just saying, I don't need to hold on to that right now.
How do you how do you support others with this? Like for like the listeners out there that are curious, like, okay, so cool. I get to do boxing while I'm doing therapy. Like, what does this look
Yeah, I
like?
get that question asked a lot. Um, so I have like two different avenues for it. The more common one is a combination of like a boxing session with therapy mixed into it. So, for example, I'll meet with somebody at a gym at their house and we'll just kind of get a little bit of lay of the land. How you doing? How you feeling? Where you at? And I work this path is mostly for young men and young men just don't have the words or the insight yet to really tap into how am I feeling? The most common thing I get is like fine. I'm fine. It's like, okay, cool. And then I try to like, if you could scale fine to like 1 to 10, like 10 is like the most awesome fine ever. Like 1 is like really shitty fine. Like where you at? And so I kind of get a baseline. And then we just kind of move through like what you would do in a boxing session. The magic though that happens is that they don't realize that we're building immediate rapport. There's a lot of trust that's being put into me. I also step into a role as just like an older man in their life. And I think right now, especially for young men, they're getting a lot of like just shitty grifter manosphere advice from people that want their money about how to be a tough, strong man. And it's all bullshit. But I come in as somebody, I have the scars literally to like kind of prove why or to establish why I'm there. It's like my resume. And now they are like now they're engaging in something, some kind of activity. And about 20 minutes in, I'll start to ask more questions. So like, what's going on at home? Like, you want to talk about that? Usually in the first couple sessions, not really. But by the end of it, it's like, cool, like where are you at on that scale, 1 to 10? And usually the number is much more improved where they are. And it's like, oh, okay. Huh, I wonder why, right? And there's little moments of insight. That and also combined with like, there's so many metaphors with boxing for life, right? The most like kind of common one, especially for somebody who's never boxed before, is that their balance is off. They don't know what to do with their feet because they think boxing is about just moving their arms. And it's a foundational sport. I call it dancing with punching. And you have to start at the base. And your feet and like how you are positioning your body is the most important thing. And that the real like the punch and the force actually comes from your hips. It's being expressed through the arm, and like the final moment is the hand hitting the pad of the bag. But if you're off balance, you're gonna notice it right away. And so there's a lot of moments of like, okay, stop, pause. What just happened? You got really excited, you stopped thinking, and now you're off balance. Let's reset and let's try again. And also, where are you off balance in your personal life? And there's just these little tiny moments like that. Um, and that to me, I get to establish a lot of rapport. I get to do an activity with them. There's a lot of research that's come out about men and activities as being more beneficial for therapy. Like if you sit across from a young man, you ask him, "Hey, how you doing?" It can feel like you're interrogating them. But if you go for a walk with them, I also I take a lot of my young guys to go get food and we just go for a walk and we'll grab a smoothie or something and we'll just walk. And then if I shut up, they'll start talking.
Mhm.
But if I sit across them in my office, how you doing? How was your week? I get a lot of like, I don't know, it was fine.
Right.
And so the activity it's this third, you consider it like a third person in the room that we can use to triangulate. And that creates a lot more of a bond.
You mentioned when I spoke to you about getting on this podcast, you were talking about working with women.
Oh yeah, that was the other path. Yeah.
I'm super. Can you share with the audience about that too?
Yeah, thanks for reminding me. Um, so I've had three female clients who've had sexual assault in their past. And, what we have done is basically we do a lot of prep for it if they want to like basically do a reenactment or psychodrama through boxing. And so before we even get to the boxing part, there's a lot of trust that needs to be established and the story needs to be told and all of that. But then we start to look at it through the lens of like, if you could go back and protect, what would that look like?
Mhm.
What would that feel like? How would you want to protect? And so we do a lot of that. And so that they really kind of have this sense of like, this is what I'm doing. This is why I'm here. I'm going to go protect that young woman who didn't have the ability to protect herself at the time. And on the day, what happens is I have a very scary looking friend. He's a total sweetheart. And we put a lot of pads on him and he looks mean and tough. And all he does is walk towards them. Um, and they beat the shit out of him. And I'm there basically like as their like I look like I'm their boxing coach at that moment. Like I'm in the corner and I'm just monitoring them to see if they're going to go above threshold, if they're going to enter into a flashback or not. And I'm there like reminding them what they're doing, giving them encouragement. And if they ever need to pause, we pause and have that moment. And usually, well, what's happened in all three times is that there isn't this kind of like primal like just release this power that they I think have wanted to express for a long time, but because of society and because of not knowing of how strong they actually are, they really haven't had the platform yet to do that. And once it's over, there's been tears and just this sense of like, I am no longer that person who didn't know what to do. And should anything threaten me again in the future, I know that I have the ability to be grounded, to defend, to believe in myself. And then we basically have integration sessions afterwards where how does that look like? What would that look like in your day-to-day life? Obviously, you're not going to go punch somebody that cuts you off or your boss who's being, you know, not pleasant, but to find that sense of like, oh wait, I'm strong. I'm grounded. What are my values? Do I need to take that? Here's a boundary. Yeah.
Darcy, do you have any questions you want to ask quite yet?
Yes, and I am thinking something that you spoke to, Josh, is very much how Michelle is and leads with the walking retreats. What you're saying about when we start moving, there's this like something else happens. And I was thinking how incredibly important it is to have options where there are such rigid boxes or frameworks, right? This is how we do it. It's like, there's a lot of value in that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like
Yeah.
I love me, I'm holding up for anyone not on video. Like I love me a planner and a list and all the things like
Yeah.
containment. And there's certain things that can only come out when the borders are taken off.
Mhm.
And I'm curious how, either in your experience or if you might speak to like a client story, how you moved through an arc of, um, I'm thinking like the arc of vulnerability when the borders do come off, when the punches start going, like how has someone moved through maybe the rise of chaos that comes out? Like I'm thinking about how intense it could be to really
Mhm.
let loose,
Yeah.
especially for someone who hasn't had a safe space to express anger or grief.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great question. For the ones where we're doing the kind of like the reenactment stuff, that's just we almost we don't want them to go over threshold and kind of be paralyzed there, but we do want them to be able to have that like big release. And then that's why I'm there and not the actual person walking towards them because I want to be there to be that anchor point of them of you know, like just to help them find time and place again, to kind of keep them grounded. Um, but also to encourage like that's why we're doing this. We're doing this to have this kind of like, you know, kind of controlled freak out. Um, that is the healing part of it. Where it gets a little bit trickier is for the young men who I have to get very clear with them that when they're punching the mitts or the bags, they're not envisioning a person because I've seen that happen before too. I work with people who they fight with their siblings and their moms and parents, and I hate them, I want them dead, and all of that stuff. And so it's the act of saying like, hey man, like your emotions make sense and like your feelings are valid, but this mitt is not your mom, it's not your sister, it's not your dad. It's your anger at the behavior. It's your anger at your sense of a lack of agency. So that's what's being hit right now. Because what we're not going to do is use this as a way for you to like train yourself to hurt somebody. And I get very clear on that. And if I ever feel like they are, like we have to do a major reset and say, this isn't why we're here. For any like proper martial arts, you don't do it to go out and hurt people. You do it to know that like if you were ever in a situation, you can defend yourself. Hopefully never get into those types of situations. But to see when people have had these, I can see that kind of glint in their eye. I have to be very mindful of that. But once again, though, like, you know, crying, letting it out, getting to that point of just like of scream and like just like we want that because we don't want that energy being bottled up and then put onto another person. So finding the right kind of avenue for it, it's really necessary, and it can get scary for sure. I think especially for men when people see men get big and loud, people get scared. I think for good reasons. but it doesn't mean that they shouldn't do it as well. They just need to do it in a more of a contained space and not, directed at other human beings.
And my guess is this is where your mindfulness around breath work comes in too. That it's like how getting all of this energy out, and then how can things get grounded in, or energy moving through and out of the body when you can't punch, when that's not possible. It's like
Yeah.
integrating that into.
Yeah, like with breath work as well, right? Like both boxing and breath work are like controlled anxious states, right? Like a lot of the times if you think about the brain and it's like three parts. You have your brain stem, you've got your amygdala, and then you got the prefrontal cortex. And a lot of like the trauma anxiety lives in the brain stem and the amygdala. And just people aren't aware of that. And so when you're doing something more controlled, like, oh, I'm going to go do a breathwork session, I'm going to hyperventilate, I'm going to have this total freak out, you are telling yourself, like, I'm doing this on purpose. So this is what controlled anxiety feels like. And then it's actually turning into excitement. Because at a physiological level, anxiety and excitement feel the same. It's how we interpret it, right? And boxing is the same way. That we are shifting from the amygdala to the prefrontal cortex. Um, and that transition allows people to just to know that, like, oh, I'm in control of this. It's no longer controlling me. And then you just build on that. Like that's the skill.
So before we started uh, filming, I saw your mug. Do you want to read it for anyone who's not on video or
I miss drugs.
has 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 your work that you've done personally or professionally made that mug message a joke? Because I know it's a joke.
Yes, I have to bring humor into it.
Mhm.
Um, it's part of my own way of kind of owning it. I like, in my own like when I'm not doing boxing, and breath work with people, I do a lot of parts work with them. And for the longest time, my addiction was this big, scary smoke monster beast inside of me, snarling and just like it would kill me and all of that. And the work that I've done on myself is to let it in and try to integrate it and befriend it and love it. It's the part of me that from a wide enough perspective, I can see that it saved my life when nothing else would have worked, or I didn't have the tools or the skills. I didn't have the ability to reflect and have insight and to make the changes. Um, and the way I look at it now is bringing humor into it is basically shining a light on it. And so, for me, it's like, I have that mug of like, yeah, I miss drugs. And it's also like, and I don't do them anymore. Um, and so it's just that it's a wink, I guess, is the best way to say. Because when people are trying to get sober too, like I want to normalize it. Yeah, man, drugs were fun. Drugs were great in the beginning. I think that's one thing too, and especially in the sobriety world, um, is that everyone's like, oh, drugs are bad, drugs are bad. Well, there's a reason why people do drugs. They feel fucking great. It's instant relief, it's instant activation. Um, if you do them like the way that I did them, you get into a lot of trouble. And I usually meet people who have done similar things. And so we want to normalize that, like, you're not bad because you did drugs, right? You were in a lot of pain and you're here now. That's okay. It's okay to miss it. And we can bury the drug addiction. We can like lay it to rest and you can still miss it from time to time. It's okay, but we don't want to go back there.
Your work is so powerful. Um, how are you? I'm just kind of curious how you take care of yourself these days.
Mm.
I know you collaborate with a lot of healers like in your practice. Is there
Mhm.
anything in particular you gravitate towards?
Yeah. So I have my own, like I have my morning routine that's um it starts with making my bed. And I also love existential therapy. And when I ask people like here's the greatest philosophical question you'll ever ask yourself in the world, which is, do I or do I not make my bed? And again, like a little bit of humor, but really it's kind of like, how do you want to show up for yourself? It's making your bed is kind of the most pointless thing because it's just going to get messy again that night. So like, why do we do what we do? So my like kind of routine to help me kind of stay grounded is I have little things that I like to take care of. I try my best to not go to bed with dishes in the sink. Try my best to make my bed. Of course, this morning, for example, I overslept and I had to run out the door to go to the gym. And so my bed wasn't made, but I took care of it right when I got home. Um, and I do breath work and I meditate and I journal. I kind of do all those things. Fitness is massively important to me. Um, and I have my own therapist that I talk to. I work with other healers, therapists, coaches, and we have team meetings twice a week where we either talk about client cases that we are all working on, or we have our own kind of group where somebody will start to share about what's going on in their personal life. And it's this really amazing container to express and talk about the quiet part out loud. Um, I lean on my friends a lot. I say, especially my guy friends, like I'm very affectionate with them. And I think for a long time I didn't know how to be, but like saying I love you, saying I appreciate you, it means a lot to me that we're spending time together. Like that strengthens my bonds and it creates a sense of scaffolding so that if I ever go through hard moments or if I have a really intense day, I got 20 people I can call and just say, hey, I need 5 minutes to vent, or can you tell me where I messed up, or can you believe this? I just need a little bit of validation. And that makes me feel taken care of. And also, the last thing I'll say is ice cream. I fucking love ice cream. And that helps a lot.
What flavor?
I was gonna
I'm
ask that too.
obsessed right now with God, there's this like non-dairy, I'm very LA, non-dairy cookie dough thing from like the So company, the SO company. Um, it's it's the best. And then if I'm feeling real, like I need a lot of self-care,
Mhm.
I put it on top of a cookie.
You put what on top of?
I put the ice cream on top of a cookie.
Oh, you actually.
I
Okay.
put cookie dough ice cream on top of a cookie. I'm a madman.
Totally makes sense. It totally.
Yeah, yeah.
I I love more things than not if I'm going to eat ice cream. So, and in Jerry's and we had a long lasting
Yeah,
relationship for
yeah.
many years. And
Oh,
so
and also, so they do like canine therapy. I don't have my dog any longer, but I mean, just I would come home and just like lay down, and he's a bigger dog, and I would just like hug him, and
no.
just like that regulation right there is so important. Um, Candles as well. I'm a big scent guy, you know, clean spaces like that. All of that stuff just really does wonders for my nervous system.
So much of what you're speaking about is the power of the senses and thinking about how avoiding emotion, active addiction, trauma can take us, like me as a human, us as humans, out of being connected with our senses or feeling safe to be in them, connected
Yeah.
with ourselves, connected with others. And I'm I'm wondering if you have a personal story about how you've moved through that yourself or moved someone else through that. Because I'm thinking of all the modalities that you're sharing that we're talking about, even the candles in the clean space. Like there's so many people who listen to this podcast that are looking for one thing that they can take away.
Mm.
And I'm sure some people aren't going to relate with, like, I don't think I could ever box, or
Yeah,
whatever, right? I've never done drugs, fill in the blank.
sure.
But I know everybody can relate to I get disconnected and I want to be connected, That's why we're here.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great question. Hmm. I did drugs, stimulants, because I was so depressed and I did not know how to be alone with myself. I was disconnected, right? There was like, I would have those quiet moments. I think going to bed was the scariest time for me. That moment before you actually fall asleep where everything starts to come up and like your brain's like, hey, here's all the ways in your life that you've messed up. And remember that from fourth grade? Well, that still is happening, right? It's all that noise. I couldn't handle it. And that's why I did a lot of stimulants to like, I'm just gonna stay up and then I'll be so exhausted I'll just pass out. Now, whether it's drugs, shopping, toxic relationships, all of these things are distractions. And they're kind of brilliant distractions because if you think about it, I'm just delaying, I'm procrastinating looking at myself. I'm putting a sheet over the mirror because I don't know how to tolerate actually looking at myself with an honest and accurate um, perspective. I'll either see myself as grandiose or I'll see myself as the worst person in the world. And I will disconnect and numb out through doom scrolling, whatever it is, because sitting with my feelings is the hardest thing to actually do. And it is hard in the beginning. When I first got sober, there was a lot of tears. There was a lot of freakouts. It was like, I hate myself. I don't know how to do this, but it was just, the word compassion, I think it really, I didn't know how to be compassionate to myself. The best definition I have for that word is to struggle or to suffer alongside with somebody. So having compassion for somebody else is really easy. Oh, they're in pain. I've been in pain. I know what pain is like. And all you do is you name it. You say, yeah, I see that. That's really hard. I'm here if you need anything. But I can't go through the pain for you, but I can at least say like, damn, I'm here if you want to talk. Having self-compassion, though, that's really hard because if you have a bad relationship with yourself, it's really hard to have that voice come in and say, boy, I'm going through a hard time. I see that and I normalize that. So what I do for my own self-compassion is I just, when I'm having my moments of really hard stuff, I put my hand over my heart and I do a little bit of a sternal rub, activating the vagal tone. And I just name it. And I say, like, I'm depressed. I'm anxious. Does that make sense? Yeah, it sure does. I'm like, okay, this sucks. Yes, it does. Okay. And that's really it, right? Like that's the actual work of normalizing it so that you don't have the shame spiral come out. And then once you're like, obviously that's not the end of the work, but that's the beginning of it. Name it, normalize it. um, locate it in the body. Where is my addiction, for example, lives in the back of my knees. If I have a craving, the back of my knees light up. It's so weird. Either I'm trying to run towards something or run away from something. And I can at least know that. Like, oof, and I call it out and I name it. And then it's like, okay, what do I need right now? What do I need to do? Do I need to reassess what I'm doing with my life? Do I need to like look at my values? Do I need to put up more boundaries with that person who really upset me? Um, and all of this, like, it sounds easy as I say it. It sounds like, oh, yeah, just do that. It's the hardest thing because it's not tactile. It's not something you can check off a box. This is the work, is being aware. But again, too much awareness without the expression, without actual action becomes more anxiety. So you have to find the right balance. Yeah, so that's how I do it for me and help others.
Yeah, amazing.
Thank you.
Um, this is awesome. I feel like we could talk forever. I really appreciate your time
Yeah,
and the amazing work that you're sharing with the world. Do you do virtual as well as in person?
I do. I do virtual, office, home visits, all the things. It's a little hard to do virtual boxing therapy with people, but I'm sure I could find a way to, put me in your headphones and I'll just
Totally, totally.
Yeah.
Hit the air. I think that would be great. Darcy, any other final comments?
Mm. If you were going to give any words of wisdom around why healing matters to a different version of yourself, maybe past, maybe present, or future version, what would it be? Any words of wisdom or encouragement?
And you're asking such good questions, Darcy, and I'm like, fuck, how do I
That
want
one,
to get a
that
really
one
good
is a
good
hard one.
soundbite here. But no, like healing matters. So helping others heal. This work means a lot to me because the Dalai Lama, there's a book of Dalai Lama having conversations with Archbishop Desmond Tutu. I think it's called Unhappiness.
Mhm.
And it's like three different conversations over like decades. And the two most peaceful leaders in the world who've gone through so much of their own like their backstories are so intense and crazy, so much like violence. And they keep coming back to like to find happiness is to help others. Um,
Mm.
that just made me emotional. Um, so for myself, I look back at my old self, I look at photos of me and my addiction. I just that guy, that version of me, he just needed a lot of hugs. Um, and then for my future, I try to ask myself, what does me in 5 years appreciate about me today and the decisions that I'm making today? Because look, even though like I'm a therapist and I help people try to live their best lives, I still mess up. I'm still human. And I have to basically my way of holding myself accountable, one of the ways I hold myself accountable is just, am I steering my ship in the right direction? And the best way is I kind of frame it as like, where are my lighthouses? Like, where am I directing this journey? And one of the ways is like, what does me next week appreciate? What does me in a year? What does me in 10 years appreciate about what I did today?
Amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah,
We're going to connect all of where people can find you. I know you do your social media is mostly messages from your car. So anyone curious about words of wisdom on the road, we'll put your Instagram and your website and everything. So anyone who wants to connect with you will reach out.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you.